Welcome to one more game presented by Hoosier Pickleball. I am your host, Matt Brandenberger, alongside my wife, Abby.
Hello.
And our producer,
kind
Adam.
of alongside.
Are you there? Yeah.
I'm really alongside you, buddy.
That is, yeah. Hi, buddy.
I was waiting because you usually say like a superlative, and I was
Right.
like, did we miss
You
it?
don't deserve one today.
You do not want to
Couldn't think
know
of one.
You do not want to know the
You made us so
superlative.
late
I'm
today.
going- yeah. And this is Adam Marino. And the reason I am beside Adam today is we have our guest. If you remember has it been a couple months now?
Yeah.
It's been several weeks,
yeah.
maybe coming up on a couple months. But this is Marcus Woodhouse, former president of Indy Pickleball Club, current partner of Becca, dad of Pickle, the cutest dog, well, next to maybe our dogs,
I was going to say.
and van-owning traveler, pickleball star from the Indy area, Marcus Woodhouse. Welcome back, Marcus.
Thank you
for being here. Did that cover it all? Was that intro? I think Abby wrote that intro.
I did.
So
Any
Did I-
superlatives?
anything
cover
else?
it?
Fantastic.
Fantastic, amazing, special. I think we called him special last time. Or no, that was Ryan. We called special.
We called Ryan
And
special.
we wanted
I mean,
to
you could
clarify.
say life-saving pickleball person. I've saved a few people from
Have?
cramps on the court.
Oh, from Cramps.
So
Nice.
How did you do that? Pickle juice?
Hyland leg cramp medicine. It is
Oh.
the magic. I've saved
Really?
James Anatowicz would be the most
Really?
He's
popular.
famous.
in Beer City. He was
Wow.
cramping up against Zane. Like his fingers were
Oh no, fingers even.
disformed on his paddle hand, like cramping, like gnarly. I ran to my car, got some Hyland leg cramp. It's like,
Is
take
it a
this.
cream? I don't know
No,
what this
it's
is.
pills. Oh, so
What?
back in the day,
Wow, pills work that.
oh, less than less than a
amazing.
minute,
No
less
way.
than a minute, and you're good.
I smell a sponsorship.
So
That's
Yeah, do you have a
amazing.
website to pitch?
back
What's
back
going
in
on?
the day when I started playing pickleball, every player bag had a little pack of like 2 pills.
Is that
so
right?
That is so interesting.
Brian Cook, my
Yeah.
Yeah.
men's partner that I play a lot with,
Yeah.
that's how I met him and his wife. They
No
were
way.
playing against somebody that I didn't really care for. I wanted them. I think I lost to him earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they were like, they had called a timeout, and he was cramping.
Yeah.
They called the second timeout, and I heard him like, I think we're going to have to stop. And I ran down there with the pills. I'm like, take this, and like 2 minutes, you'll be
That's amazing.
good.
Now, are these the only kind of pills you supply, or? Is
Yeah,
there
yeah,
like a full-
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
actually
jelly beans
Oh,
or the other sugar supply.
The link to the
Hyland.
jelly beans will be in the show
Right,
notes.
there you go.
So no, there is Hylands, like that's like a baby thing. There's
Oh, is it?
teething. It's
Okay.
a teething thing.
But
too,
it's,
so
I mean, you can
interesting.
get it at Walgreens, you can get it on Amazon,
Wow.
wherever.
That's
But
amazing.
like,
Okay.
We'll link that in the show
I
notes.
always have
Oh.
a bottle of Hyland
Okay.
leg cramp in my bag.
I'm gonna have to put one in my bag. I have everything else.
You do.
I
you
get
have
made fun of,
everything.
so I better add that. So kind of
interesting.
behind the scenes, we were intending to record 2 episodes with Marcus when he was up here last time, but we had such a good conversation, went a little long, and we weren't able to do that. So we are having Marcus and Becca came up again. We're going out to dinner, playing a little pickle today as well.
It's actually just so they'll play with us.
Right, exactly. So we're gonna
Hoodwinked them to be on
we're
the
gonna
show.
try to make this a 2-parter of part 2.
Part
so.
2 too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, we learned a few things from last time, so we absolutely want to play with them again and have them on the podcast. So looking forward to hearing your story today. So let's get started.
Well, I have
yeah.
one thing to say. I have a review for you. I
Yeah.
had somebody text me and said, I loved Marcus Woodhouse so much after hearing your podcast.
Oh, that's
Said
sweet.
I fell in
I
love with
fell
him,
in
right?
love with was the actual quote.
Was it
Did
Becca?
text you?
He's already taken. You know.
It was Becca.
It was a burner phone. It came from a burner phone.
She's like, he was so until now, but
Tell her she did a terrible job of disguising her voice. Hello. All right, so here's how we're going to start today, just with a little fun thing. Describe for us your perfect day. If you could just take a day and you've got a clean slate, you don't have to please anybody, but you want to have the perfect day, what all are you doing from wake up to go to bed?
Oh,
Never had that.
probably
What is it?
waffles for breakfast.
Okay,
Blueberry
Okay.
Eggo waffles,
nice.
quick and easy.
are they served to you or do you have to
Oh
make
no,
them? You'll make
I
them.
like them dark. I don't,
Okay.
I don't like French toast is out because it's soggy. Anything soggy.
Oh, okay, crispy.
Yeah.
Crispy
I like crispy,
Eggos.
Yeah, with
Interesting.
peanut butter.
Okay.
Ooh, I like
Blueberry
peanut
waffles with
Peanut butter. Yeah,
Really?
butter. Okay.
and syrup. It's
I
really
can be
good.
in with that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's a good pre-pickleball day.
Is it? Yeah.
Like long day
Yeah.
pickleball. It gives you that good
Yeah.
base.
Get some carbs.
Protein.
Yeah. I would say wake up to a beach somewhere would be perfect. I love the ocean, love the sound, sand.
Are you sleeping in, or are you waking up early?
Well,
or just whenever?
Nowadays, it's just whenever I get up.
Right.
Whenever my body says, okay, now it's time to
Now
get
it's
up.
time to
Yeah.
get up.
Go play pickleball for sure. Couple hours, 3, 4.
No.
Go back to the beach, get some food,
Nice.
get a nice grouper sandwich, and then probably go play more pickleball.
I love it. A 2 a day.
And then
Nothing
end the
better.
day back on the beach.
So
Back on the beach,
obviously
okay.
you're playing outside then.
Oh, it could be
Outdoor
indoor or out.
pickleball.
It
Okay,
could be
you
indoor
don't have
or
a
out.
preference.
No, I don't.
Okay.
So both of them are, I mean, tournament, I really like indoor because like it just takes all the variables out.
Yeah.
But I do, I mean, like for fun, I like playing with a lot of wind.
Yeah.
When you pay a lot of money, it's not as much fun playing
Right.
in super windy or big long rain delays.
Yeah. So who's playing in these games with you? Is there a foursome? Is it 8 people? You know, this is.
I mean, other than Matt and I.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, I don't.
Who else?
I just like playing pickleball.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to say Becca.
Well, sure.
You better.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just like playing with whether it's newbies or or really good people. You can always work on something or.
Yeah.
That's
learn
such a great
something.
attitude. Not a lot of people feel like that.
Well, I mean, there is. I know you guys talked about like etiquette and that
Sure.
there's really some tricky dynamics when lower level people ask you to play and then don't hit you the ball.
Right.
But then you just have to be like, all right, this is my time when I need to learn to focus because that's a good for mixed.
That is good,
I can work on my footwork and and then talk to them afterwards. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you asked me.
Right.
The only way you're going to get better is by hitting the ball to me.
Right.
And, you got to play the right shot. But,
Yeah. And you can have those conversations in a kind way.
Yeah.
All right, so the last time you were here, you've played probably a few times since then.
Yep.
We won't talk about Punta Gorda.
Yeah. It was not my best.
Yeah. And we all have
But
those.
you said it was rainy and windy.
It was windy
And
and rainy.
cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So-
that's just not fun.
So
Yeah.
what is it you have been working on in your game? How you feel like your game is? Do you still feel like you are getting better and better, or do you ever
Maintaining. Yeah.
No, and we'll get into it with
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about Parkinson's, but it's definitely a day to day. Like some days are better.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, with my Parkinson's, the right side of my body, arm and leg shake.
Uh-huh.
So any given day, the right hand is overfiring, underfiring,
Interesting.
always tired,
Yeah.
depending on what time of the day I play, because, I mean, it shakes all day long. So
Yeah.
by the end of the day, it's,
So it's kinda-
tired and
Yeah.
wore out. And so just trying to adjust, every single time I play
Yeah.
to, what that day's going to look like. Am I going to drive today? Can I drop?
Yeah.
What do I, is my focus on?
Right.
So-
Say that takes a lot of mental energy too.
Yeah. So,
So,
Yeah.
question:
Yeah.
Do you wake up in the morning and say, "Ooh, I'm a little bit more today"? Is that a thing?
no, so like for me, it's kind of the sweet zone. So like I've been working on our van. So we bought a
Yeah.
new van that we're going to work on, but I'm finishing up the old one.
Uh-huh.
And being in the shop for like 3 days, my garage, just cutting, doing that kind of stuff. I get in the house and relax, and I'm like, man, my arm feels good because it's not. It's just calm.
Really?
But excitement, nervous, makes it shake even
Really?
more. So, on a pickleball court, you're nervous because it's a new match against somebody, or you're really excited. Like those are both 2 times that it goes extra crazy.
Yeah.
Or you're in an interview and nervous, and it
Yeah.
goes crazy. Like it's
Sure.
just so really, if your mind, I mean, because the only time it rests is when you're asleep. So when I fall asleep,
Yeah.
it doesn't shake.
That's interesting.
That is really
Get up.
Really?
If you wake up at all, then it starts shaking. So now you're trying to figure out how to calm it down. So I usually put my hand between my legs and try to clamp it shut or underneath my body to
Yeah.
go
But-
back to sleep.
But when you wake up in the morning, based on what you know you have to do in the day, could it be shaking more than, if you have that a little bit more nervous or
Yeah,
excited?
yeah.
Kinda,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think people know that that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Well, I think in the, in general, like people think of Parkinson's, they think of Michael J. Fox, Muhammad Ali,
For sure.
but really I don't think understand, because like if you have cancer, it's a stage 1, 2, 3, 4. With Parkinson's, there is no stage. Every person's different, how they react to medicine, because some people, like me, it's shaking on the right side. Some people, like their movement's really slow or really rigid of the way that they walk and different things. So every single person, how I take medicine is different from how you take medicine, how much you can take or how little you can take. It's all like, it's basically a science experiment for every single person.
Wow.
So yeah, in this episode, we're going
Wow.
to get into talking a lot about your Parkinson's, and really appreciate just your vulnerability and your openness with that. I think it is really interesting. Let me start though by kind of talking relationship wise. You and Becca play together a lot, and Abby and I talk about this some on the podcast as well. Can you give us any advice for playing with your partner? You're a pretty laid back guy, so I think you're probably.
I am, but I'm super competitive.
Yeah.
And so for me, and I'll even say this, with Parkinson's, it's a little different even with that, because the way that my brain thinks, the way, I know I should make that shot, or, repetitive is better for me, like planned out strategies.
Yeah.
Just the way that we go about things. And so I always have to ask her, is this a fun game or is this a serious game? Like, I need to know so I can be prepared ahead of time.
Yeah.
So with me and Becca, like for me, I enjoy playing with her. So for me, whatever I need to do to make her feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's where, girls usually don't like to bang, maybe up the kitchen. Yeah, but like when we like to drive it, most girls don't like that drove right back at them. They're still working their way up to the kitchen, or
Right.
So it's just understanding what works best for them, and not being prideful and be like, but this is what I like. It's trying to match both to work, simultaneously. So it is always, I think.
I love that. I mean, that's really great relationship advice for anything. Pickleball, being less selfish. What am I getting out of this? But you're saying, going into it, saying, how can I make this most enjoyable for her?
Because we've had our arguments and discussions and things,
you're
but
human.
At the end of the day, like for me, it's, I want her to feel comfortable so that she wants to play with me, because at the end of the day, like, I don't know how long because it's going to be good days and bad days on the pickleball court. And, I'm happy that she understands that, and we can talk about it and adjust for it. And
How much coaching do you give on the court?
now,
I feel like
none.
This question's
I'm just
kinda
asking. No, I'm just
directed at me.
curious. Just curious.
Now, none. It's always afterwards we can talk about it. So it's
You
it's
say
usually,
now, meaning you had some
Yeah.
issues?
Well, because the way that I communicate
Yeah.
isn't the way that she needs to receive it.
Right.
And so it's just better not to do that on the court. Now, if we're talking about the opponents, that's one thing. But like talking about how,
like, you
Or
should have
What
done
she
this.
should, yeah. You don't do that
like,
anymore.
No. Like scoot over.
Right.
Like, it might have been that one time.
Yeah.
And, and for me, it's like, I'm just trying to remind her, but like for her,
Right.
I didn't come across that way. And so it's just understanding that and talking about, I think in general of any pickleball, partnership is communication. It's not, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but we need to be able to have that conversation of, when you do this, then I have to do this. So, what are we going to do? Or, I don't like it when you do that. So do something.
Right.
Don't do that.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
You know the way you are. Don't be that way.
Right. And so, it's humbling, and it's actually good life.
It is. There's so much about pickleball that translates
Yeah.
into just life.
Yeah.
I always say it's the most sanctifying sport you can play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life skill
Especially
makes-
with the doubles aspect of it as well.
it just makes you a better person.
Yeah.
hopefully.
And I mean, guys don't like to talk. We just like to play, And so, like, for guys to sit there and communicate and be like,
Right.
hey, let's figure this out.
Right.
It's really good.
Yeah, as much as I enjoyed last time when you were on the podcast, I enjoyed talking to you more afterwards and just picking your brain about strategy and things like that.
I love strategy.
Yeah, oh, I do too.
I feel like that's a whole podcast.
Yeah. Not everybody likes strategy on the court while you're playing.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So in that vein, like maybe talk a little bit about just some general advice. So for our listeners out there that are at the 3.0, 3.5 level, one or two pieces of advice you think are most important for them taking their game to the next level, and then we'll talk about higher level.
So if you're just playing rec play, dink all day. Dink all day, learn to dink. You can play against a higher level person if you can just sit there and dink and reset. If you can learn those two things as you're the lower level people getting up, it's gonna make everything more enjoyable for sure. Now on the competitive side, I always say, whatever skill level you're at, find a person, one, that you enjoy playing with, but two, is as close to your skill level as possible. Because if we're playing 4.0 and you're a 4.0 and I'm a 4.49, there's a huge difference.
Sure.
Somebody's weaker. There's something to pick on.
Right.
It's almost like playing mixed.
Yeah.
I'd rather have two people that are 4.0 than have that disparity. Because
that's interesting.
it's the quick, easy. Like when you're playing competitive, that's what we look for. I don't necessarily look at duper ratings beforehand. But I can quickly tell after a few plays who the weaker player is and what their weakness is. But if you play me and Brian Cook, we have similar games. If you're going to pick on one of us, you're going to get something that you don't necessarily like. And so then for new people, that's hard to decide who they're going to pick on.
Right.
But if there's just that disparity in that skill level, it's really easy to just target one person, and then that person that's higher level gets frustrated, and then they speed it up unexpectedly. So I always try to give that advice for that. You know, as you're working your way up, find people that are as close to your skill level or mindset as possible.
It's really good.
Yeah,
I do like that.
Advice.
So how about for your 4.0, 4.5 plus player? What do you think is really
consistency? I mean, you guys pointed on statistics, and it's I am guilty of the trick shot, inside out.
So tempting.
Oh, it's very tempting, but like the consistency is the key.
And there's a fine line, isn't there, between like trying those things in rec play, which you should, but also you play how you practice.
Right.
So if you don't learn how to have a 40-50 shot rally of consistently dinking it back and forth, cross court 12-15 times, it's going to get to a tournament and you're not going to be able to do that. And
mine's usually that first game of rec play. I mean, it's always speed up, and it's not, you're like, let's just warm, you're just banging away, and it's like, that's the one that you should set the rule that you got to have like 5 dinks before you can speed it up in the first game, just to get your mindset right of, I got to slow it down, I got to work the angles and not just wail away. I'm guilty of that.
That's
for sure. So here we're going to go and play after we're done with this pod here. So what's something you've played with Abby and I a little bit, you've seen our games, what's something you would tell us? We're looking for some free advice here.
To use on you.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this?
What should I work on today?
Ooh, well, I mean, I think I'm still gonna bait Abby into going down the line because I like that. I always like that challenge. And you can see her eyes get really big when
and I'm all in. Just reel me in.
You're going to give her more and more court.
And then I'm going to go down your line, and then you're going to go down my line.
Then your forehand's going to be sitting there and smash it.
That's another tidbit for those lower level players. If you go down the line, like 90% of the time, it comes back down the line. So you should always be ready for that ball coming back down the line. So if you speed it up down the line, like the majority of the time, it's coming right back down that line. A lot of people like start to move over.
So I can get set.
Right.
Is my
but
thought.
If I'm going down that line, I got to bring that hand back up and be ready for it to come right back down the line.
Yeah.
So Matt, I'm just going to sit there and make you dink.
Yeah.
Backhand.
Yeah.
We might
play
even
on my impatience.
We might even reverse stack to put Becca against you on the dink.
Okay.
And see, because we do that
Sure.
when you get a guy banger that wants to just drive it through the girl.
Yeah.
We'll reverse stack to try to break that up and
Yeah.
mix that up. And so we like, especially in rec play, we like doing things like that so that it's not foreign to us in a match.
Sure.
Because we'll go away from a match. Last year we had one like that, and it took me a day to like figure out what we could have done different.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that's what we need to do. And
Yeah.
so then we, in rec play, we'll be like, all right, now we're just reverse stacking, and I'll play.
Yeah.
I just love that recognition though that you like process that, because I am just such a
Go out and
either
play.
I don't know, like a spaz.
I'll hit it right down your line again.
I just hit it where I want.
Yeah.
So I have so much work to do in that strategery.
Yeah.
You do whatever
you
you
will.
want. Imagine that.
I know.
Welcome to my life.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But that also, that does speak to, I love playing board games, and you're like bored with board games. You're
I
like,
want to pull up the table and get out of there.
What's your board game of choice?
Well, we could have a whole podcast on this,
geez.
but I love a lot of the Euro style games.
Yeah.
So,
Do you play those?
No,
Like
old
Risk?
school. I'm old school.
You're old
What do you
school.
play?
Yeah.
Like Go
Yeah.
Fish?
Parcheesi.
Oh,
Yeah, I do like Parcheesi.
we love Parcheesi.
Yeah, Abby likes Parcheesi.
I'll play
I
that.
grew up
Oh.
sitting on
Yeah.
my mom's bed
Yep.
late at night when I was the last one in the house out of 5 kids.
Yeah.
And, we had hours on end.
That's awesome.
My dad would come back from a trip and play and be like, I'm never playing with you guys again. Because he was just there for the fun.
Yeah.
Euchre. I
Yeah.
love euchre. Just old school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I
Games.
think if you got into some of those Euro style
You would
ones,
love them.
where if you're strategic
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah.
they're just
Your brain would like.
Yeah.
they're
So
amazing.
Yeah.
Kings in the Corner. Have you ever played Kings in the Corner card game? It's pretty easy, but like there's some definite strategy. I played with some people that taught me, and like I blew their mind the first time. They've been playing for years, and they're like, "Wait, you used that strategy?" I'm like,
and it worked out.
hilarious.
That's awesome.
oh yeah. The first day that I played, they end up playing 3-on-1,
Yeah.
and it's each person for themselves. But I had won so many games
way.
that they.
Okay,
amazing.
so Matt, can you give Marcus a suggestion of his first Euro style game to get that strategy? What would you?
Settlers of Catan, and they kind of call it the,
Oh, yeah,
the
heard
gate
that,
the
yeah.
gateway
Yeah, the
to
gateway
those
game.
Ticket to Ride's kind of one of those.
Yeah,
but
like have you played those?
No, I've heard
they
the-
get
Like-
they get super nerdy though. I mean,
Yeah,
but
see,
I'm just
I'm
saying-
out when it's that
Right.
nerdy.
Right, but
Right.
get into like Ticket to Ride.
yeah,
like that.
But
would
those
be-
are fun. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of strategy there and whatnot. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and kind of get into more of the Parkinson's talk with Marcus. We will be right back.
Are you new to the game of pickleball and looking to learn the basics? Or maybe you're an experienced player who wants to take your game to the next level? Both Matt and I would love to help.
That's right, Abby. We are both Level 2 IPTPA certified instructors and would love working with you, either giving you private lessons, group lessons, or hosting a clinic. We also offer unique video coaching utilizing the latest in drone technology. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok by searching Hoosier Pickleball, or email us at HoosierPickleball@gmail.com. Also, check out the show notes for all the links to our social channels. All right, welcome back to One More Game presented by Hoosier Pickleball. We are joined once again by Marcus Woodhouse, Indiana pickleball legend. I think we'll just give you that title.
IPL.
So in part one, we talked about our adoption story when we had him on before, and we had a little bit of a conversation earlier. You mentioned about your Parkinson's, and so that's really kind of our focus here for the second half of this episode. So Marcus, kind of walk us through how you started seeing some of your signs or symptoms. When did this all start, and when were you officially diagnosed?
Yeah. So back in 2016, I was playing a pickleball tournament, and I had wore like an armband, like the tennis elbow armband, because I had neck surgery, the Peyton Manning surgery, C4 and 5.
Wow.
So I'd lost my tricep muscle for a year.
Wow.
So getting that back, so I just wore that to kind of give that extra support. And I was in a tournament and I kind of got the yips of serving, and my hand just, just slightly started shaking. I just thought it was from my neck surgery. So I took the band off, threw it away, and be like, all right, I can, I thought I was like pinching a nerve or something.
Sure.
So.
And you are right-handed, right?
I am right-handed,
Okay.
yeah.
So it was on the pickleball court that the symptoms first started. Very interesting.
And so I went to a neurologist, and so back then they usually just do an MRI, look at your carva levodopa. It's on the top of your brain. Parkinson's, one of the ways you can tell if you have Parkinson's, you have less carva levodopa. You basically lose your carva levodopa in your brain. It looked good. He's like, well, just come back and see me in a year.
Yeah.
And how far post surgery were you? Like, so you'd had
like a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you should have been completely recovered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I went back to my regular doctor, my normal visit, and she's like, well, that's not a good answer.
Yeah.
Oh.
So had another MRI, went to my neck surgeon.
So at that point, did you have some of the shaking going on?
So pill rolling is like,
Pill rolling is what they call it.
it's really like the telltale sign of Parkinson's. So one early thing that I didn't know, loss of smell is a early sign of Parkinson's.
Really? Interesting.
So I can't smell. I mean, that's bad now that COVID happened.
Right.
Shoot, I can't smell.
So, but I mean, that's one of the early signs of Parkinson's.
Did you know you had lost your sense of smell?
No,
Right.
I never was like a big
Smeller.
yeah.
Abby.
I'm just not into
Abby's
smelling,
one of those
guys.
people that when a thought enters her mind, she just says it.
Right.
Not into smelling, guys.
So I was married to somebody one time that would chew like chips with their mouth open so they could smell the flavor of the chips. And
That was the reason that they did it?
That's
What?
yeah.
Very interesting.
That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard, Marcus. I got to be
It
honest.
I was yeah.
You seem like a normal guy. That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Not me. That
I
was
know.
her.
But it's
Yeah.
not saying it was
Yeah.
you, but
Yeah.
that is
To
hilarious.
identify that and recognize it and say, I'm consciously going to keep my mouth open
Yes.
to smell these chips. I do love that.
So weird.
I'm
is
actually
very-
going to try it tonight at dinner. If you see me chewing with my
Same.
mouth
I'm making a TikTok of this.
open. Yeah.
So so pill rolling is like one of the early signs, and it's really the biggest identifier of Parkinson's. When they look at it now,
Yeah.
they're starting to be able to give a test to do it, but that was like the early sign. And so I had went to a different neck surgeon to get his opinion, and he looked at me and goes, I could do the surgery, but I'm like 99% sure that that's not wrong with you. He goes, do you mind getting a second opinion? So I went and got a second opinion, and yep, you got Parkinson's. And it took me about 2 weeks just sitting in my house saying it out loud
Yeah.
to because
Because you're an athletic
So is this
guy.
still 2016?
yeah,
Okay.
2017 probably.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like for me to say that out loud and to cry,
Right.
a grown man to cry, like I can't talk about it yet.
Right.
So like I would just sit at home at night and be like, I got
Right.
Parkinson's. And it took me about 2 weeks, and then it's like, all right, it's just like anything else in life. This is what has been laid on your plate. Let's go.
And remind me again when you started playing pickleball. That was
So I've been playing now for 7 years.
Okay.
So a couple years.
so you'd been playing pickleball for a couple years. Was
Yeah.
pickleball as big in your life at that point?
It had started to.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was playing tournaments and
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, for you to just sit and process that for only 2 weeks, I mean, you
Yeah.
really just—is that your tattoo? Your forward? What's
No,
it say?
so it says forward.
Yeah.
So my dad passed away.
Okay.
The dad that raised me passed away, and every time we got punished, got our spanking, whatever it was, never was brought up again. Just move forward.
Yep.
And so, for my dad, and kind of just my outlook on life in general, it's like
Keep going. Yeah.
I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, but it doesn't do any good to dwell on them. Can I learn from it? What did I learn from this one?
Yep.
Let's make that better for the next one.
Love it. Yeah. I love that.
So, yeah.
Who did you tell first? I'm curious. I ask the hard-hitting questions.
I probably called my mom. I don't actually remember either my sister or my mom I called. So my brother, But yeah, I mean, just being able to process it in myself, just to, because guys are macho. I'm not that much macho. I'm a crier if I watch Rudy, or I mean, I could probably any Disney animated character that has
Cool Runnings.
Oh yeah,
when
absolutely.
It flips. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
Can't handle
So
that.
mine's more with like his conversation with his dad.
Emotional.
Those
yeah.
those things. Up,
Yeah,
the
I'm
movie Up.
Feeling
Oh,
emotional.
yeah.
I'm sorry. You're like,
Abby.
You made Abby cry. That's saying something. I'm the emotional one in our
right.
family.
I don't
so,
cry.
yeah.
So that for me, it's just like you got to be able to process it yourself, and then let's go. Like whatever we got to do. I'm a full faith in doctors, and I know there's things that happen out of our control that surgeries don't go as planned or whatever. But
So was your back surgery related to it at all? Is
No.
there any? There's
Yeah, I
there's
don't
no
understand.
connection whatsoever.
So back with Parkinson's, so like I took a little swab of the cheek, and they looked for 4 genes at the time. The first time that I did this, they looked at 4 genes, and then they give you a consultation. Well, it's not hereditary, so it's not in your So now it comes from something else. So the first thing they ask, did you grow up out in the country? Yes. Did you grow up across from a field? Yes. Did you grow up on well water? Yes.
What? Is
So,
it like from
chemicals.
Chemicals from
From
spraying?
what?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then I was in the house fire, and so I had all those chemicals that I
gosh.
inhaled.
Oh, wow.
So like any one of those
Yeah.
combination, or like good percentage, like if you Googled and looked a map of people with Parkinson's, like the Midwest is like the heavy
Really?
hitter
Yeah.
of that.
What about age?
No,
Because again, I think
I
Michael
mean,
J. Fox and Muhammad Ali,
it's getting younger and younger.
Well, wasn't
mean-
Muhammad Ali's from cumulative trauma to the brain?
It probably, it's
Contributed.
hard.
right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox was a little bit more of a normal,
Yeah.
right? But he was
So.
older than.
Michael J. Fox was like in his, I think early 25 to 30
That's
Really,
young.
when it
Wow.
first started.
age
Is that right?
range when he was diagnosed.
Really?
Yeah,
I
he was
didn't-
one of the youngest.
I think they hit it well on some of the shows he was
Oh
on
yeah,
then,
he
right?
did it for a long time and didn't tell people
Okay, I
that
didn't,
he
I guess I
had
didn't
one.
realize that.
because like medicine. I mean, carval-levodopa is the standard. I mean, there's so many other ones, but like that's the main one, and it was invented back in the 50s, and they haven't really changed it. But
I thought that's what did
dopamine. So
No.
dopamine's like that energy. You're
okay.
the science.
But when you said you had the MRI, what were
yeah,
they
dopamine. That's your dopamine
Oh,
level.
gotcha.
So dopamine, especially within Parkinson's now, like dopamine's your energy. Like
Gotcha.
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
hyped up and you're playing
Right.
pickleball,
That's
your
your
dopamine,
dopamine.
levels
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like cranking. So for
Yeah.
somebody with Parkinson's that's low on dopamine, that's what you're trying to get more of.
Yeah.
And so it might be slower to start to do things, but once you get going and your dopamine kicks in, then you're going, and that's what helps.
Yeah. So
So-
you talked a little bit about that. How much would you say some days more than others it affects your play
Yeah.
for sure? Is there ever times if you're in a tournament and your dopamine levels are really kicking that you feel like it doesn't affect you at all?
No, it's always
always
yeah,
affecting you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, so for me, if I take the carval-levodopa, then I'm lethargic, drowsy.
Really?
So some people take it and it's the opposite. It works perfect,
Really?
and other people can't take it. So that's where everybody's different. So for me, I had a neurologist that wanted me to take 2 pills 3 times a day. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
for me, if I take pills in the morning, 10 to 20 minutes later, I'm nap for an hour.
Really?
It kicks my butt.
Wow.
And so I've been on the pickleball court where I took it, a couple hours before, and I can see that ball coming from the baseline. I should get my paddle up, and then it just hits me in the chest.
Just that lethargic. Wow.
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't an option. That's no way to live
Right.
my
Right.
life. And so I got to choose whether I want a shaky hand
Yeah.
and have fun and be attentive. I mean, because it's kind of hard to work
Yeah.
a job when you just want to sleep most of the day
Right.
and stare at a computer and be like,
Oh, geez.
I should probably do something, but
Right.
I just
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah.
And so, some people it works, some people it doesn't. So I have tried, several different medications, and none of them help. And so this is, down the road that, what's the next thing for me.
Yeah.
So
So.
do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
What?
So, DBS, deep brain stimulator, is a procedure. It's been around 3 decades now.
Wow.
So they basically put 2 leads in your brain, and then come back a week later.
And that's like a metal needle, essentially, is the lead.
Yeah, and so then they'll come back a week later, run the wires that go from the back of your head down the neck into the right or left side of your chest.
Wow. And they've been doing this for 30 years?
Yeah.
Holy
So,
cow.
and then they can adjust those levels not some of them are remotely, but in an office visit with a neurologist and dial it in to help. The benefit is almost normal for a certain amount of time. So I always say brain fog's like a normal thing with Parkinson's. Like your reaction time, like Becca will help me with something in the van, and I'll want to tell her what I want her to do, and I'll have to stop, think, process it, and then tell her. And so I'm like, just give me a minute, let me think about it, and say it. But that's just kind of the normal kind of brain fog that you have. So with this surgery, a lot of people wake up and like, oh, it's gone. Like, I'm back to somewhat
that's what you're
normal.
Really praying is going to happen. So you're going to have the surgery then?
Well, so I'm waiting. So I've done, at least for my insurance, you have to do a drug on-off study. So basically you go into the neurologist, don't take your medicine the night before. They do some tests, then take the medicine while you're in the doctor's office, wait 45 minutes to an hour, see how you react.
Yeah.
Then you go and do a psych evaluation. Okay. And so they're like, yeah, you got to go do a psych evaluation. Then they tell you later, oh yeah, it's like 4 or 5 hours long.
Oh my gosh.
And so
how was that?
So like at first I'm like, I don't even know what this is all about. And so when I met the doctor, I sat with the doctor and he explained it. And so when he explained it, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So basically they just want to make sure that you're competent and you understand what's about to happen to you when you have a surgery like this. And so they go through, give you 15 words. They'll tell you 15 words and you got to repeat as many of them as they can. And then they'll tell you, might do that 7 times.
Did you have to draw like the face of a clock?
No, so you might do like a 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and the ABC, and then they'll do like it keeps getting harder. So you got to go 1 to A to 2 to B to 3 to C. And then, they'll give you they'll read you a short story, and then you got to repeat as much of that story as possible.
Wow.
Or like red, green, blue, blue, green, red. You got to read as fast as you can through this whole page. And then like the last one is like red, green, blue, but the red is actually green. And you got to say the color,
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. And so like money, they ask check questions like, can you write this check? And, they just want to understand of, for me, it comes back and the doctor's like, after it's all over and he looks at the data and he goes, I mean, you're a perfect candidate for it. So what the biggest thing we need to understand and the doctors need to understand is we can't just tell you the information, because if I go into a doctor visit and they're like, well, you need to do this and you need to do this and this and this, I'm not going to remember it.
Right.
But if you have a pamphlet or you give me the notes that I can take with me and look over several times. So when we met with the surgeon, Becca went with me so that we could ask all these questions. She can remember all of it. Yeah. So that way, it's basically giving the doctors and the surgeons the understanding of how my brain works.
Sure.
And so that they can help me in the long term understand all that. So the insurance needs both of those things because they want to make sure you understand that.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say, the thing this kind of reminds me of, too, is it has to be hard to know, to separate, like, what is just being a normal human being and what is related to my Parkinson's.
Yeah.
It's in the same way that we talk about, like, with our girls who are adopted. It kind of goes back to your adoption story as well, is what are some of the things that our girls are struggling with because of their adoption story versus
Being
they're
human.
just
Right.
girls,
and,
little
yeah.
girls.
And I was in LD classes growing up because of
Okay.
spelling and just reading, like the comprehension part.
Yeah.
Like for me to read a story and then understand it or write about it,
Yeah.
forget it. But let me see a 5-second video on that,
Yeah.
and I can write 10 pages. Like
Same.
I'm a visual
Interesting.
learner, but
Same.
and it wasn't really like what level, how smart are you?
Right.
It's just
Right.
understanding
Learning
the way you.
styles,
And I'm like, well, why don't they do this in school? Like,
Yeah.
why don't they like? I mean,
Yeah.
separate classes to like how kids
Right.
learn.
Yeah.
It might help them. For me, it was always my sister bought me like a little spell check. The little things you'd type on back way when they was just like only spelling, and I could stump that thing. Like it would, if it could pop up saying, I have no clue what you're saying, trying to type, like
That's awesome.
that was me. And so,
Right.
when spell check came out, I'm like, yes, but I can still stump spell check. So dictate is even better now.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can just talk.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting video, and it showed a car from 100 years ago, and then it showed a car of today, and it said, look at the difference.
Right.
Then it showed a phone from 100 years ago and a phone from today.
Right.
Then it showed a classroom 100 years ago, and it was the same
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's wrong with this picture?
Right.
Yeah.
Why are we doing education exactly the same, but yet every facet of our lives is different?
Right.
And that, that's
Yeah.
so true.
There's so many. We talk about all of our girls have different intelligences. There is school book intelligence. Congratulations to those of you who have that. You're going to be fine for the next 18 years.
Right.
But those of you who don't have like just the book intelligences, you have so many other great qualities, but
Right.
schools don't lean into that.
Right.
Right.
Because
No.
we have children who are walking through, we have to tell them, no, you are good at so many things. It's
Yeah.
just not reading this paragraph and answering the question.
Right. And
That's
so
okay.
for me, I knew that growing up.
Yeah.
And so I knew I just had to work harder than
Yeah.
everybody else. So I knew like there's ways around it, And so I just work harder. It was always work harder.
Yeah.
And I know what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are, and people always say, well, find out what your weakness is and work on it. No. Figure out what you're really good at.
And lean in.
Do it. Figure out how you can work around those weaknesses to make, just to help get along. I mean, I help 5 plants in Indiana that are the company I work for, and, help plants make money. And like, I never went to college. I was just always a hands-on.
Yep.
Growing up, I could walk into a hotel and I'd be like, Dad, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Just like my eyeballs see a whole different way. The way I think, and you got to embrace how you are. And, it doesn't matter what other people
Right.
think or what the norm is supposed to be.
Right.
There's a job for
Yeah.
everybody.
That's just so hard though when we've got to get these kids through school.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
because we're homeschooling a kid now
Yeah.
because of some some
Sports saved me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like trying to lean into her of like, okay, here's your strengths though. Like I petitioned the school to get rid of her spelling words because I was like, she's not gonna learn them. Who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
Like we've got
And
spell
just
check
spell
now.
check. Yep.
Yeah.
So leaning
Yeah,
in
yeah.
though to your strengths. I love that.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this test that I did, they had
Yeah.
like a ton of words, and about halfway through, I'm like, I've never even seen these words. And part of my struggle was I could never remember, the CH, like all those beginning sounds that you need to remember of how to
Right.
pronounce a word. And I'm like, she's like, well, you got to say them as best as you can. And I'm like, I don't even know how, like, I've never even seen them. So like I'm visual. So
Right.
like if I've seen it, I can at least like kind of piece it together. But
Yeah.
like if I've never seen the word, I mean, the first time I went to California and all these exit signs were words from Mexico. I'm like, these were not in my English class. I'm like, I don't even know how to pronounce them.
And they weren't taco and burrito.
No, they weren't. Like,
Yeah.
I got those.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Chihuahua. Hua.
yeah. So I mean, like, I like if I go to Hawaii, I'm out. Like,
All right.
Dali Kimli Klimaka. That's interesting.
So kind of moving forward then, Marcus.
Well, so when are you? I mean, do you
Yeah.
have that schedule?
So
I guess-
waiting. I'm waiting for the surgeon to call and to
Okay.
schedule that. So I've decided that's for me,
Yeah.
the medicine's not working, And so for me to have the best chance long term, and it's probably the one misnomer. You know, a lot of people just wait till the last resort to get DBS, but it's really not. I mean, that's not the truth. It's the sooner you can get it, the best chance you have to like almost freeze your brain and like help that. So like if you took two twins and that had Parkinson's and put one on carbidopa and one DBS, the DBS would last way longer and the progression would be a lot slower. Yeah. But a lot of people are scared because there's two different ways to do DBS. And so the old school way is to do one side at a time, keep you awake, you know, through a 4 to 6 hour surgery, and, you know, test it the way that Dr. Lee out of Indianapolis, there's a new procedure back in 2011. A surgeon out of Texas invented a new way to do it, and this surgeon did his residency in 2013 with this guy that invented it. So you basically take a MRI and you go in a week before, do an MRI, a high resolution MRI, and then they put you, day of surgery, they put you in a CT scan table, so they get a live feed and they can match those two up, and so they know exactly where to put the leads. Do that, and that one's actually the easiest, even though you stay one night in the hospital. The next week you come back, they'll run the wires down your neck, and they said that one you'll take all the pain medicine because they got to pull muscle away from your neck. So they asked, they're like, so he asked, because he did his residency in Texas, and he's like, so if you got to shoot a shotgun, what shoulder do you use? Because it would bust that unit. And I'm like, well, I'm not worried about shooting somebody. I'm more worried about my pickleball game.
Right.
And so for me, I'm going to put it on the left side. And even though I'm right-handed, I'm left-eye dominant. And so there's another pickleball correlation. Find out what side you're dominant, because like for me, I'm an inside out with my right hand. I see everything. I don't have to look with my right eye. I don't look at the ball very much, which is not necessarily good, not recommended, but it works for me. But like left eye, you're like, oh yeah, I'm left eye dominant. So like I'm seeing everything with my left eye, but I'm using my right, my right hand for it.
So you're hoping to, this year. You're hoping to do it this year.
I mean, if he called and said, we can get you in next week, I'm doing it.
So then when can you play pickleball again after that?
It's a 1 month wait. I got to let everything heal.
That's it?
When's the last time you took a month off of pickleball?
Probably before I started.
Exactly.
But honestly, that doesn't sound all that bad. A month.
No.
When you think when I hear what you were just talking about, when me and Abby went at the same time, like I was thinking like 6 months, if I'm honest.
It's literally brain surgery.
Well, I mean,
and so I'll have my head shaved.
I'm sure you'll look very good.
I mean, I'm a quarter of the
Why
way there.
are you looking at me, Matt?
I wonder why you were so excited about it.
You got a nice head.
But like 2 weeks after I had my second surgery with the leads and everything, then I can go to the neurologist and they can fine tune that. And I would say find a neurologist that you love and that listens to you. I had one that just wanted to, I was basically a test. He was a newer neurologist and just like, well, let's try the standard. Let's try this. Let's try this. I'm like, medicine is not working. Right. What else can we try? Or, let's think outside the box a little bit. And it was all rigid. So, so I'd go to Rocksteady Boxing. I don't know if anybody. So Rocksteady Boxing was founded by somebody that had Parkinson's, and it's for Parkinson's people.
Well, that's cool.
And it's because with Parkinson's, this is the crazy part. Carbidopa is the main drug. Side effects: lethargic, laziness, lower back pain. Well, let's see. What do you need with Parkinson's? You need exercise. You need to eat healthy.
And now you don't want to do that.
Right. And so it's like, so boxing, and then also, the center, the hand, the cross, thinking and, from right hand, left eye, that you need that. So boxing's a good,
that's awesome.
and they're like 1.5 hour classes. They have them every night.
They have them at the do they have them at the JRLY? Cause
I don't know.
I think they have them in the Auburn
honest.
Y.
Yeah, you can go on.
Yeah.
You can Google Rocksteady Boxing, and they'll show all their
That's cool.
affiliates across the country. Great nonprofit organization.
That's cool.
That's
Could you
awesome.
do something similar in pickleball with that? Do you think?
Yeah.
Like
So I mean, they're actually looking at the headquarters in Indianapolis. They're actually looking to put a pickleball court in, because we have on a Saturday, if you go to IRC in Indianapolis, there's usually 1 to 2 courts of people with Parkinson's playing
Is that right?
pickleball.
Wow.
So I was
That's
playing
amazing.
last weekend, and got to talk to a
Yeah.
couple guys that
That's cool. What a cool support
That's
group
really
that
you
have
neat.
it,
Yeah.
and just another activity. So anything you can do to be active, sleep, all that.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I have another question. When is part 3?
Yeah. no
Because
kidding.
We
we-
can't seem
like-
to get done.
Yeah, like there's so many more stuff we want to ask. I feel
know,
like.
I know.
W-
Yeah.
We're
So-
a little up against the clock,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
definitely want you to share
So-
anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a couple other things, like some of the symptoms, struggles, sleep. So with Parkinson's, your brain's always going. So trying to get to sleep is a problem. Or once you get to sleep, like getting up out of bed is a problem. Obviously the tremors, your hands firing all day long, your arms firing all day long. That's usually a headache by the end of the day or midday. Depression is a common. Thankfully, I just always have to think the positive, and so I know a lot of people, it's a fight in their head, and just trying to get people around that you can talk to, get that support, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Yes, Parkinson's doesn't have a cure yet. You can slow it down. Dementia is one of those things that eventually, at the end of the day, will, that, and some people are rigid and fall, a lot of falling, but just, always there's somebody that always has it worse. So that's one of my things is like, I have Parkinson's, but somebody always has something worse, and just it is what it is.
You have a very encouraging attitude.
So
I'm encouraged by it right now.
I mean, anything in life, whatever it is, like there's
Right.
Like, and it sounds like you have your dad to thank a lot for that, just having that forward attitude.
Yeah.
Always.
And thank Ted Lasso for Be a Goldfish.
You like that?
Oh, I love it. I have a shirt.
Do you?
Yeah. Be a Goldfish, because we say that on the pickleball court too.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Yeah.
I love it.
That again applies to so many areas.
So, and talk to somebody, because I did an article in Pickleball magazine, and I had a professor from a college reach out to me, and he hadn't told anybody.
Wow.
And we got to spend, about 40 minutes on the phone just talking about each other's, he was a former athlete, high level athlete, and just being able to share.
Right.
And for me, that's, when I came to terms and said, okay, let's go, it's like, okay, like I'll use it for good.
Yeah,
and,
how can I help others?
I mean, the struggle is what it is. And, you got to embrace it, and there's other people going through it, and so the more people you can talk to, and just find out what's working for them, or what you're not alone, and just reach out, and hopefully somebody that's just starting to get it will look into it, and hopefully get help and the support they need.
Yeah, there's so much encouraging of just knowing somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you too? Like,
yeah, because guys, we don't really talk. Girls will have lunch and they'll talk about it and have that.
Right.
So last week after playing pickleball for 2 hours, the guys across, they both have it and sit there and talk a little bit, and just how they got it. And one was a Marine that got it from Camp Lejeune and Iraq.
Wow.
I've seen those commercials.
Yeah, one guy grew up in Florida where they crop dust everything.
Oh my goodness.
And so just
That's
seeing
so crazy.
I didn't realize it was that identifiable.
I didn't know.
I mean,
know,
well,
right?
I mean, so
Same.
they can't pinpoint it and say
Right.
like the Camp Lejeune, they can, but different things, there's different outliers. Chemicals are just,
Right. But just like you're saying, if there's like you see the Midwest and you see like
Right.
that's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
tell you something.
yeah.
wild.
Regionally, why would that something?
So now, and through Michael J. Fox Foundation, the Parkinson's Foundation, you can go whether you have Parkinson's or not, and do a cheek swab. It puts all your genes into their data bank. So like when I first did my test, there was 4 genes they looked at. The last one I did was 36 genes that they're looking at that they potentially have an outlier for Parkinson's.
Interesting.
So, and you can be with Parkinson's or without. So the more data they have, and so they always are trying to get people, you know, hey, if you got a friend or family that has Parkinson's, go get tested. You know, go do this, and you know, so you know, and then as genes come up that they can identify, that just helps. You know, they'll contact us, and you know, hopefully,
that's amazing.
One day there'll be a cure.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Well, we're going to end with a game, but first we wanted to make sure that we gave you a chance to kind of plug Temper. You are a sponsored rep.
No.
Player.
Sponsored player. I was going to say pro. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is 2023. We give a code, they get a discount. I don't have to carry hundreds of paddles around.
Right.
Awesome.
So, but Temper does, because you guys had a segment.
We did,
last week or the week before
on paddles.
On paddles and demos. And so Temper, you can actually go onto their website, 7 paddles for 2 weeks for $20.
That's a great deal.
If you decide to buy one, they give you a $20 discount.
Well, that's
and
cool.
so
That's awesome.
family-owned business in Michigan. I've
Ooh, I love it. Yeah.
longest sponsored player with them for 6 years now.
Can I hold it?
Yes,
We'll
this is their new carbon fiber.
Ooh.
That's a nice looking paddle.
We'll link that in the show notes, guys. Temper
Yeah.
paddles. There,
And is
look
that
at that.
So they do
tmpr.com? Is that their website?
Yep.
And we will link that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
So
And then
nice looking paddle. What's the price tag on that one?
Don't know.
Okay.
You had one job, Marcus.
I don't have.
No, he doesn't have to know.
Yeah, I just
He gets
play.
them free.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they have a 16 and a 13 millimeter, 16 millimeter.
Nice.
So, and I always say, if you want more pop, want to bang all day long, go with the thinner 13.
Yeah.
If you want control and want to win, go with the 16.
And want to win. Oh, I see what you
I
did there.
like that.
So,
Okay.
little tidbit, I like to look to see what people play with,
Yeah.
and so I know how they're going to play
I love
before I even step on the court with them.
I'm so dumb.
That's
You wouldn't
like
know.
blows my
With me,
mind.
you wouldn't know.
Right.
I have the black paddle. That's what I have. I don't know.
That's
Black.
awesome.
That's the kind of stuff I nerd out on.
Right.
That's so
cool.
great.
That's awesome.
Okay. Well,
All
thanks
right.
for telling us about that.
So here's our game.
I
Last
think
time.
we're going to have to be quick.
Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
quick.
Okay.
It's a rapid fire game.
Okay,
so
rapid
it's
fire.
just either or. Okay. So I'll name something. You
Go
tell
with
us.
your gut.
Okay.
First thing. Drive or dink.
Oh, yes.
Oh, what?
Love it.
Just depends what day it is.
Right. Okay. Coke or Pepsi.
Coke.
Okay.
Amen.
Wheat beer or an IPA.
Neither. I don't drink.
No,
Nope.
drink. Not at all.
Not at all. Never had a beer in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Good for
think
you.
I'm
That's episode 3.
Taste testing.
Left side or right side.
Ooh. Oh, left side, but starting to get more comfortable with the right side.
It's good. Jordan or LeBron.
Jordan. There is no other. There is no other.
I love that.
When you self-proclaim yourself the king, you are not the king.
I agree. Pizza, Chicago or New York style, or off the charts.
Oh, it's gonna be thin crust.
Thin crust. Okay. A little healthier.
Yeah.
Mixed or men's.
Yes. You know what? I like the strategy of both.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the spin serve, it's gone now, but were you a proponent to ban it or
Ban it.
ban it?
So in my biggest, because I heard you guys' discussion, that
Yeah.
you didn't bring up. Did you ever play against in mixed? Did you ever play against a woman that did the spin
Right.
serve?
I agree with that.
That's probably
I did not.
Other than the injury side of like
Right.
some of the courts aren't wide enough to
Mhm.
to do that, because I've played it with a guy that could go 4 feet either way.
Yeah.
But it's the girls don't see it in their game at all,
Yeah.
and then they're expected to
Yeah.
adjust for it.
Yeah.
So
I think overall I'm in agreement with that.
yeah.
Even though I did.
He's heartbroken.
And I
but-
I
have
used it.
small hands, so I can't do
Yeah.
the flick.
Tipsy do.
Yeah.
Hat or headband or neither.
Outside hat,
Okay.
inside headband.
Okay. Hat backwards or hat
No.
forward?
No. I'm straight laced. Come on.
I guess I'm not.
Well, you had
That's
party.
amazing.
You have party in the back. So as I heard in a show I like to watch, it's a Mississippi mud flap.
Oh yeah.
It's a mullet.
I like that.
Oh.
I did get rid of the mullet. I'm
I shaved
clean
it
back
off.
there now.
Yeah.
So. Let's see. You win the toss. Serve or side?
Inside or out?
Outside.
Outside, I will take the side.
Okay. Because you're playing the wind/sun.
Yeah. Now, MLP rules, I'm going to defer all day long.
Okay.
I mean, because you get a point if you stop them.
Right.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Ruby Tuesday or TGI Friday? It's so random.
I still don't even know what food they have.
And both went
I'm probably
out.
going to go TGI Friday because I think they're more sarcastic. Their waiters are.
Okay. I like that. I like that.
That's what it has to do with.
That's awesome.
I was going to say like bourbon glaze.
I like a little banter. I like a little banter from my waiter or waitress.
Did you ever go to Ed DeBevick's in
Oh, where they make fun of you?
Yeah.
And
No.
write
Oh,
swear
that-
words on your hat, on your
Yeah.
dunce cap.
Chicago? Yeah.
In
I don't even know if
Chicago?
that's politically correct
Yeah.
now.
No way.
If that
No.
place is still around.
They have one in Indy, not at DeBevick's, but
Oh, like where they give you a hard time.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but you
No.
gotta check it out.
I will.
Take back a.
All right, last one. More satisfying, a body bag or an ATP?
Ooh.
Ooh. You know, I like my slow body bag.
Yeah.
I like the inside out slow, that
That's like
slow
a-
death one.
That's like
Right.
a mocking one.
It is. It's the worst because they can see it and they can't.
they
And
can't do anything about it.
Get their paddle
Ugh.
around.
They almost like chest bump it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right.
That's awesome.
Well, we're going to leave it there unless
Yeah.
there's anything else. Marcus, thank you so much.
Oh.
These are always a pleasure, and there's definitely going to be a part 3
Oh
at
my
some
goodness.
point. So
We have to have a strategy one.
yeah, strategy one, and we want to stay in touch in terms of your
Yeah.
surgery and how all that goes. We'll be thinking of you, praying
Yep.
for you, and all that. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, thanks again for coming up. Looking forward to
Yeah.
Some
hanging
rec-
out.
Some rec play, some food.
Yeah. So it's been a good day.
As
About to
Becca
get
wants
better.
to know where we eating.
Yep, we're
Same.
gonna figure that out.
Same.
All right. Thanks again for joining us. See you next time. As always, we want to thank our sponsors, Hoosier Pickleball, Indiana Physical Therapy, and Pickleball Rocks. In addition, a big thank you to our production company, Collagen Media, and the 95.7 WELT studio in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or find us on YouTube at One More Game Pod. That's the number 1 More Game Pod. Hit that subscribe button and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating to help us spread the word. You can also find us on Facebook and TikTok at Hoosier Pickleball for all kinds of fun, tips, tricks, and other family nonsense, and also some great discussion. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.